Welcome everybody to Be the Best Parent You Can Be, where we unlock the secrets to parenting with joy and confidence as we nurture our children's full potential to thrive and succeed in life. I'm your host, Jeanne-Marie Pinel, and today I have the immense pleasure of having Dr. Shefali here with us today. And Dr. Shefali, welcome to Be the Best Parent You Can Be, and please share with our viewers the work that you do and a little bit about your background. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being with you. So I really write and talk a lot about the integration of Eastern mindfulness with Western psychology, specifically in parenting and family work. So my books so far have been The Conscious Parent and Out of Control, Why Disciplining Your Children Doesn't Work and What Will. And my third book, The Awakened Family, will be coming out at the end of May. So,
Nice.
This is what I do, what I'm passionate about, and what I really believe is what's necessary to change the way our families look and how we connect to our children.
Wonderful. So to just delve more into that, what do you mean about being a conscious parent? That to me is the main of your work, and I was recently at a wonderful 3-day event that you did, which was awesome. But for our viewers, what does that really mean?
Well, on the very basic personal level, it means becoming conscious of what we as parents bring into any relationship at any given moment, not just with our children, but also with ourselves, with any situation that we're confronted with in life, and to really examine the energy that we bring to any given moment. So that means we have to be pretty present to what's happening within us. That means we have to be aware of our preconditioning, of our belief systems, because that influences our behavior, and to really understand our loopholes, our inner wounding, because then we can truly become present to how it is we are becoming activated by our children. And quote unquote, we say that they're triggering us, but really we're already festering wounds that are just ready to ignite. We're already cinders that are ready to inflame. So becoming aware of that allows us to not project our reactivity on our children and pretend like they are the ones that need to be fixed or produced or managed. It's really us that needs to do the inner work.
And so how would you maybe guide parents to do that inner work? Because it seems like that's a lot. It just, when you're saying that, it's like, oh my gosh, that's 20 years of therapy right there. And, when you have a child, you're there, you're in the moment. You kind of have to deal and react to situations. So how on a daily basis can we be in tune with that, inner child or all our wounds, like you say?
Well, I think the first thing is to be aligned with your greatest mission as a parent.
Okay.
What is your greatest mission as a parent? And I think every parent will say, after saying that they want their children to be happy and successful, will say connection. Connection is of primordial importance to every parent. So we have to stay aligned with that basic vision. It's just like every time you eat a meal. What is your alignment at that moment? Is it to eat healthy or is it to pig out? Similarly with a child, is it to be connected or is it to just be wild in your reactivity? Once you get firmly planted in your grand vision that connection is the core of any interaction, then you begin to ask yourself, okay, is my present approach with my child creating connection or is it creating disconnection? And then if it's creating disconnection, instead of blaming the child, dare to look within and say, oh, there's something I'm doing that's creating disconnection. Now, what am I doing that's creating disconnection? Am I coming with too much controlling energy? Am I not listening to my child? Am I not attuning to what my child is trying to say beneath their behavior? What does my child need from me right now? Oh, am I being completely confused about the way I'm laying a boundary? I have a boundary one day, then I don't have a boundary one day. I don't know why I have a boundary. I don't have the boundary in my own life. And then you begin to deconstruct What is it you're bringing to the dynamic? Always holding the eternal flame of connection. And until we have that eternal desire to have connection, then forget it. Then you don't need to do conscious parenting. You only do conscious parenting if you fall in alignment with your basic vision, which is to have connection. If your vision is to not have connection, guess what? You don't have to do conscious parenting, but then you won't have connection.
Right.
You won't have a deep relationship with your child, where your child comes to you with their secrets and their wounds. And this is not about it all being beautiful and pretty and being in love. It's about being real and authentic and having your child show up for you as you show up for them.
Very, very, very true. And I like what you say. It's not, it's not always a love story. Like there's, it's a relationship, and it's really,
Yes.
there's ups and downs with any relationship.
Yes.
Wow. So you're probably, I'm kind of hearing viewers in my head of, well, yeah, but what about, when they're not cooperating and I need to get out the house, and, there's all these what ifs, and how do I get my child to do something? What's your answer to that? And still staying connected, because
in every parent needs their child to do things, right? We need to get out of the house, we need to go to sleep, we need to bathe, but embedded in that, the superficial solution is, well, get them to do it by coercion, by threats, by control, by punishments. Well, that's one way of doing it, and what we call the archaic way, the traditional way, the unconscious way. Embedded in the mandate to get your kid to do something is the deep awareness that you are creating naturally in that demand a resistance. Because no one likes to be told. And our children are sovereign spirits, so they are going to resist being managed all the time. And I understand and empathize with every parent, because I'm one, that, you do have to get out of the house at 9 o'clock, so I don't care about my kid's sovereign spirit. What I'm saying to the parent is to become aware that when you are going to push an agenda on a child, you are naturally going to get resistance. So instead of just saying, then I'll just push harder, think to yourself, how can I then take the time and create the space to create the buy-in, to create the choice where the child feels like they do have power here. So yes, you have to leave the house at 9, but it may mean that you get up 20 minutes earlier to allow your child to fall into the agenda. Maybe you'll have to do some extra work with the child so that they feel that they have a buy-in. Yes, you'll have to take that extra time. I always say you have to make time for time, right? You can't just at 5 to 9 tell your kid, let's get up and go, because the kid is going to naturally push back unless they feel they've had a choice in the matter. And you've created a partnership. And I always say, the more bandwidth you have with your child, the deeper the foundation of connection, the more likely they are to fall into place and fall into line. But let me tell you, that takes a lot of preparatory work. You have to lay the foundation. So if you know that 2 weeks from now you're going to travel and your child is going to melt down, you have to think as a parent 2 weeks ahead and preempt and plan and sow the seeds, because no child likes to be sprung things onto, right? So if you know you have to leave the house at 9, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you prepare the house, you get your breakfast ready, you're not stressed out, you're ready, so that when your child wakes up, you're ready for the meltdown, you're ready for the tantrum, you're able to connect. But we don't do all that preparatory work. Right? Who has the time for time?
Right.
So then we just spring it on the kid, and then lo and behold, the kid pushes back, and then you get pissed off. What I'm saying is become aware that when you push into the child, there will be natural resistance, and that natural resistance is the child's right. Now you have to work with that. But we don't do all this initial prepping work, right?
Right.
And then we're pissed off and we're tired and we're stressed out. It takes time to raise a child. And we have to create the space. Myself too, in the morning, I want to be distracted. I want to get on Facebook. I want to answer emails. But the child has 25 minutes to get ready in the morning. If you are distracted, the child is going to pick up on that. And I have to tell myself, focus. It's 30 minutes in the morning. It's only 30 minutes. Focus, get your act together so that you can be there for your child. It takes a lot of inner work to do this, but this is what conscious parenting demands, and then the payoff is significant.
How would you, because you say laying the groundwork, and I understand that with maybe a child that has reason and that we can talk with and kind of tell them the story of what might happen. How do you help parents of newborns or expectant parents to really get kind of prepare themselves for that parenting journey that they are going to embark? Is there some,
Right.
spiritual work almost? I mean, Montessori, just because that's my background, she talks about this spiritual preparation of the adult to be
Yes.
able to be in the
Yes.
presence of
Yes.
what you call, sovereign spirits. And it takes
Yes.
a lot of preparation.
Yes.
So how do you, speaking with expectant parents of this is the journey you are about to embark, what do you say to them?
Well, on one level, they'll never get it till they're in it, because every parent has the narcissistic delusion that they'll just know how to connect, and
So
their
true.
child will not push back, and their child will be a little Buddha who's a mold of clay that they'll be able to just create into whatever object of fantasy they have. So, non-parents especially are heavily superior and narcissistic and delusional. And that's why you have a child, because then the child comes and crumbles all that, and that's so great. But I think for that lucky parent who is open enough to understand the wisdom of spiritually preparing, that parent is going to truly bear the fruits of the first few years, because the spiritual lessons that are embedded in the non-verbal element of the first few years are beyond priceless. That's
So
where the
true.
spiritual elements are. And we're missing that in the hurry, in the bustle, in the postpartum depression, in the stress to go back to work, in the realities of life. And I'm not saying that every parent is privileged enough to stay home, but really, if we could stay home and truly engage at that nonverbal quiet level of the infancy, and let go of the ego and not demand that the child be anything for you, because the infant cannot be anything for you. The infant cannot give you back except by its beingness. It teaches you every spiritual lesson you need to learn right there. In the wee hours of the morning, when everyone's asleep and you're longing to go to sleep and you feel martyred that you have to be there with this baby. Oh, then you realize the art of unconditional giving, and that you do have the capacity for this selfless love that you were never exposed to before. So infancy is the window for spiritual growth, but we are mostly missing it because we're creating it and we're controlling it and we're managing the sleep and doing ferberization when the kid is 3 months old.
Yeah.
We're missing the beauty of this seamless, formless stage, which is allowing you to just let go of your ego, let go of control, and flow with the needs of another being without any mandate to create something other than what is. I mean, the spiritual lessons of infancy are, can fill tomes. And we treat infancy as the most meager or spiritually poor or emotionally devoid time of all, when that is the time for connection. So if I could tell expectant parents, like, you are about to embark on the most spiritually rich time of your life, you're about to live with the Dalai Lama 24/7, you're about to live in the lap of the Buddha, I mean, they won't believe me, right?
But it's so true. So true.
Right?
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
the time. And for those who do get it and do capitalize on infancy, the bonds that last forever because of that bonding is just exponential. And I love attachment parenting because they focus on that. I mean, the pressure that they put also is a bit too burdensome at times, but they steer parents in the right way right in the beginning, because they tell you, create that attachment. Many parents have told me, oh, it seems like the infant is not even responding. It doesn't matter which caregiver does it. Right? On one level, it doesn't matter, because who cares who puts the bottle in the kid's mouth or who puts the kid to sleep? But that parent doesn't realize that fabric of connectivity that you're creating with the one caregiver, one child, is exponential. But how can you can't, you can only say it to the parent, but they
Right.
have to live it and believe it and make their own mistakes, and that's okay too. And for every parent who's listening who didn't do the infancy bonding, they shouldn't feel stressed out. There's always a moment for bonding and connection, whether your kid is 15 or your kid is 5. What I'm saying is that every spiritual phase can be capitalized on, but you have to see it as a spiritual phase.
Yeah, so true. And I think, when you say that how important that bonding in infancy is, I think we also need the support from our community to be able to do that, because, those first 8 weeks, all the parents that I work with, I just say, clear off your calendar. These are very, just be there, but you need other people to be in tune with you, that this time of your life with your child and this time of your child's life is so important. So
And you
yes,
may not get people on board. So
no,
therefore, you as a parent have
yeah,
to take the charge and say, you know what? I will create that time. And I won't put pressure on myself to get back into shape in 6 weeks or
thank
want to
you.
have sex in 6 weeks. No, I can't. I can
Right.
only do one thing at this point in time because my body is wrecked, but I can give to my child in this pivotal window, which I know only I can. So take off the other pressures. Have a messy home, look crazy and wild and be fat, and don't get into shape, because those are irrelevant goals at this point. The goal right now is to get into this deep connective space with your infant. So the pressures we put on ourselves, only we put on ourselves.
Right.
So we have to get us off that pressure boat and get in tune with what really matters. We can't ask our husbands to tell us, oh, please, can you eat? No, we have to give ourselves permission to eat and nourish and be lazy, but be highly focused on the right goals, which is to just bond with your child. So imagine if those expectant parents knew that, like, oh, okay, I won't put any pressure on myself to get into shape for 6 months. I won't put pressure on myself to be the perfect mother for 10 years. I won't put pressure on myself to have the perfect, clean, tidy home for the next lifetime. If I can at least take off those pressures, then I get myself aligned with what really matters.
Thank you for taking all the pressure off.
Yeah. Because no
Yeah.
one's going to do it for
Yeah.
you. You have
No,
to do
it's
it for
so true.
yourself.
So true. So true. So now to kind of move forward to your other book about discipline. You out of control, and why discipline doesn't work. So, I can hear parents saying, what do you mean discipline doesn't work? How do I, again, how do I get my child to do certain things and all that? So what do you mean about discipline, and what is really discipline? Because I know there's, different maybe definitions, and where the word discipline actually comes from. So if you
Well,
could.
I think in its most noble rendering, it must have meant disciple.
Right,
I don't like that word because I don't want to treat my child as my disciple and I'm the
right,
Lord. So I don't like the word discipline on any front. But say we were to go with the most noble rendering,
right,
which is that you're teaching your child. How is punishment teaching?
right,
How is grounding them teaching them? Is pain the way to teach your child? Or is creating an awakening to teach your child? Right? So, yesterday my daughter was rude to me, or you may say that my child was disobedient to me, or disobedient with me, or didn't follow the rules, or didn't follow the curfew. Every parent has an incident. The parent has to ask, okay, how do I now relate to this behavior? Do I go heavy handed and punish and teach through pain and shame? Or do I create enlightenment in the child and create a mirror and say, when you did this, so when my daughter was rude yesterday, I said, did that feel good to you? Like that moment was ruined between us. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, did you like that result that you got? And she said, no, of course not. But she's like, but the moment is past now. I said, you're right, but we have to learn from the past and then move on. So I didn't need to do more than that. Every child knows when they're doing wrong, but we have to hold the mirror to awaken them to that through gentle guidance, like a teacher would at school. Would you like your kid's teacher to punish them and ground them and shame them? So why do we allow ourselves to do that?
yeah, yeah,
Because we're their parent. We have the right. Because we're lazy. That's what it really is. And we're not creative. And we're not really enlightened. That's why.
okay. So you were saying about the teacher. I don't even like some of the, how do you say, the praise
The
and yeah,
sticker charts and
the
the
green
right,
light,
right.
red light. Oh,
Yeah,
that just
yeah, yeah.
irritated me. But yes. So being an enlightened parent is really about mirroring to the child what are some emotions that have come up in them as opposed to you. Correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of reacting to the emotion that's
Right.
come up in you. And this is so hard, but if you can do it even once a year, you'll see the shift. Your kid is acting out, you're ready to pounce, lunge. So now we have two children in the room. One is reacting and vomiting, and then the parent is like, well, I'm going to vomit too, but I'll call it discipline. And I vomit, and we have a big disconnect. On the other hand, your child reacts to you, you're staying in touch with your heart. It's hard to do, but say you do it once a year, and then you go, oh, you're really tired. Oh, you're really angry with me. Come tell me. Come tell me. The child will melt in a second and come and nestle in you and cuddle up with you, and then you'll say, that's all it took. That's all it took, me staying with my heart. So we have to basically, at the most simplest level, treat our children like we would like to be treated. When we make a mistake at work, we don't want our boss to publicly shame us. We have parents shaving off their kids' hair
That's
and putting
terrible.
it
Yeah.
putting it on the internet. I mean, we're delusional. We're mad. We are Hitler level crazy. We're fundamentalist level crazy in some moments where we think that we can just unleash our power on our children. And I say this not to be kind to the child. I say this to awaken the parent. This is not about your kid. Forget your kid. Let's do it for you, for you to rise to your highest level. Why are you going this low base vibrational level way? Why are you going at your lowest vibration? Let's raise your vibration.
And that's so true, because I mean, I see even with myself, if I take a moment, like you say, to be grounded, it is work, but it's so worth it for the outcome, because it just, like you say, there's a connection. I have two older teenagers, and I feel very connected to them, because I think that, I've worked on that throughout my parenting. But do you have like specific, or do you do on a personal level, like specific daily kind of rituals to remind ourselves, whether it's meditating or breath or something? I mean, are there little things that we can tell parents to, how to snap back into being that grounded parent that we want to be?
So you can't really snap back unless you're doing it all the time, right?
Okay.
Because it's
Okay.
like you have to have that muscle.
Right.
You have to have the muscle.
Right.
So you have to create the muscle, not in the moment of the heat, but ongoingly. Your whole life has to be a spiritual practice. So the first place to start is, are you joyful? Is your life worthy? Are you happy? Are you living a happy life? Because if you're miserable, none of this is going to work. You can try every technique in the book, but you're miserable. So if you're miserable, your reserve is going to be threadbare, and within moments, your kid is going to trigger you.
Right.
So first is creating a joyful life and doing the things that, as best as you can, to the level that you can, that you want to do. Doing at least one thing in the day that you want to do, and take ownership for the other things that are not going your way, but you can't change. So taking ownership for how your life is. And then doing some practice, meditating, taking charge of your thoughts, learning how to detach from your thoughts and create a pause. You can't learn this because I'm telling you. You can only learn this because it's a muscle in you. So building that muscle on a daily basis, your whole life has to be muscle building on some level, right? You can't just suddenly know how to not eat chocolate. You have
Right.
to
Right.
build that practice.
Right.
You can't suddenly not be an alcoholic. You have to build the practice. So with great compassion for yourself, taking an honest look at your life and going, who am I? Am I the person that I need to be before I even dare to teach my child how to be? And then what are the practices that I can do on a daily basis to get me disciplined so that my mind doesn't take me wherever it wants to go? So I have control over my mind at least 5 days a week, at least 2 hours a day.
Right. Right.
break it down and be compassionate with yourself, but make no mistake, the work needs to be done by you, right? No one can do the work for you.
Right, right. Yes, lovely. And I like what you said about at least doing one thing that you really find joy in doing. And I think,
Yes.
I think especially parents of young children, we get so wrapped up in just the daily routines and just getting through the day. I mean,
Yes.
that's what I hear a lot, and it kind of makes me sad. But to remember to take, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes to just kind of do something for ourselves. That self-care is so important this time in
Exactly.
your life.
Exactly.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, this has been wonderful. I would love to ask a more personal question, if I may.
Sure.
And that is, how old, I know you have one child who is how
Yes.
old?
12.
12. So if you were to go back 12 years ago when you were expecting her, what wise words? I mean, you've shared a little bit, but knowing, the journey that you've taken and the awareness that you've had around parenting, what would be some wise words that you would tell the expectant mother that you were, that you wish somebody had maybe said?
Well, just to remember that what looks messy or looks like it's not happening according to your desire and the fear that that creates is really just momentary. And if you just had the long view, now we all have the long view, it takes 10 years or so to kind of get this, but by then your kid's already 10. You realize that in the long view, what you're making such a big deal out of in the moment really is so irrelevant. Are they sleeping on time? Are they pooping on time? How many times did they poop? Oh my God, she's got fever. Oh my God, she's not making eye contact. Oh my God, she has no friends. Oh my God, he's not doing well in math. All these things in the long view are really irrelevant. What's relevant is how you show up and shine the light to your child's eternal magnificence.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Shefali. That's beautiful.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you. You did mention earlier that viewers could get a lot more information maybe by visiting your website. Do you want to say a little bit about what they can
Sure.
find there?
Sure, I have a very active Facebook page. It's Dr. Shefali, and they can just Facebook me and friend me there and get so much information from my website as well. It's drshefali.com. I have all my videos up there, a lot of daily inspirations, a lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of solutions. So I welcome people to visit that page.
Perfect. Well, thank you. It's been an honor having this conversation with you this morning, and thank you for your time. Really.
Thank you. Thank you.